Okay. Look at your screen. Look at the top left corner. You see the little red dot?
Yep.
Okay. Make sure that you see that every time we have class. That
Yep.
means its recording is on. And sometimes I get excited and forget. So, questions.
No problem. All good.
Okay. Have you programmed in other languages?
Yes.
What?
C++.
Oh, okay. Well, you're in for
Yeah.
it because you're going to learn what really goes on.
Yep.
I really think everybody should learn C before they learn C++,
Right.
because C++ does so much for you and you really have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. So I was in an
And
intro class, and that one for some reason was C++. So
okay.
yep.
Well, I'm sorry. Anyway, yeah, you're gonna now learn what's really going on under
Yep.
the hood. Um, so you're gonna have to unlearn a whole lot of bad habits.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about me, and then you can tell me a little bit about you, and then we're gonna review some stuff that's out there. Okay.
Sure.
Uh, First of all, I'm an old fart. Okay. I started programming in 1972 at Michigan State University while I
Well,
was getting my bachelor's degree in wildlife management. So I have an expertise in migratory waterfowl and wolves.
nice.
Um, I got my master's degree at Michigan State in computer assisted instruction and in 1980. And that was the first master's that we can find in the country in computer assisted instruction. Because while I was getting my bachelor's,
Yeah.
I was in the natural science department and we were inventing computer assisted instruction
Wow.
using the computer as a teaching device. Now this is back in the days when it was cards and
Yeah.
hard copy, and the only remote terminal we had was like a teletype, which was like all hard copy.
Mhm.
But we did some really cool stuff. Then I I got my PhD. I got a phone call from a guy named Ross Perot
Yep.
on a Thursday night. It was really weird. Right after I got my degree, and I answered the phone. Now I'm up in East Lansing, Michigan, right?
Wow.
And
Yeah.
this boy said, "Mr. Gottlieb?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "This is Ross Perot." I said, okay." He said, "Do you know who I am?" I said, "No, sir." And he said, "Well," and he told me about EDS and what
Yeah.
he was trying to do and stuff like that. And he said, "Mr. Gottlieb, I'd like you to meet my recruiter, Mr. Stan Hampton, in the Trowbridge Holiday Inn coffee shop tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. He'll buy you breakfast and get you down here." And I said, "Mr. Perot, are you making me a job offer?" And he said, "Oh, I don't make people job offers. I just tell them to come work for me. See you in Texas." And 2 months later, I was in Dallas.
Nice.
So last place in the world I ever thought I was going to go, but that's okay.
Yeah.
So I worked for EDS for 3 years, developed my own learning management system for them. Then I spent 3 years at Digital Equipment Corporation doing training and playing on the VAX machines, which were a beautiful platform.
Mhm.
And then I left there and went to E-Systems in Garland and spent 5 years doing training and working on black projects. Do you know what black projects are?
No.
Uh, you've heard of Area 51?
Yeah.
That's an example of black projects.
Oh, I see.
They are projects that are off the books.
Mhm.
High. I had the highest security level
Clearance.
you could get in the country. Yeah.
Wow.
It'd be 6 months. They took 6 months to vet me for that clearance.
Wow.
And they literally went back to my kindergarten teacher.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah. It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
Um, And I can't talk about what I did there, obviously,
Right.
but it was really cool. And while I was there, I got my PhD in college teaching
Mm.
with a specialty in computer education and cognitive systems from UNT. And then in 1992, while I was working there in 1992, a buddy of mine was teaching adjunct at Northlake. I taught adjunct at Richland before,
Yep.
teaching 360 assembler, which is my favorite programming language
Yep.
because it's about as close to getting programming down on the bare metal as you can get. I taught that and some other stuff over there. Anyway, Jim said, I'm teaching at Northlake and I'm teaching C, do you know, or C, COBOL, I'm sorry. He said, do you know COBOL? I said, well, I taught it at EDS. He said, oh, okay. So I went to Northlake thinking I was an adjunct and
Yeah.
they hired me full time and I've been there ever since.
Nice.
So that's my background.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've written in 51 different languages.
Wow.
C is one of my favorites
Yeah.
because again, you have control of the machine and you're not giving up your you're not wasting memory, you're not wasting CPU cycles. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah. So but that's me. I live in Keller. I have a cur dog, a mountain cur named Zoe. I
Yeah.
have an
Nice.
I have an African gray parrot named Max, who sits over my right shoulder. The house is run by a Persian blue cat named Narwhal.
Yeah.
I didn't name him. And I have 3 hives of bees and 4 chickens. So
Nice.
yeah, so that's me. Tell me about you.
Yeah. I was born and raised in Texas all my life. Um, Went to high school here in Euless at Trinity High School. I don't know if you're familiar with it.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's just a high school in Euless. It's super big. It's community's pretty good. It's all well over there.
Mhm.
That was about 2 years ago. Now I go to UTA, and the first 2 years I went to TCC. And this is first
Cool.
summer just to catch up on my courses. So this is the first time attending Dallas College.
Well, welcome to Dallas College.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, outside of school, I have a used car dealership in Fort Worth on Main Street. It's,
Seriously?
yeah,
Cool.
yeah. That's just a side thing me and my dad do. And yeah, you mentioned EDS. He also worked there at EDS back in the day.
Really? What
Yeah,
group?
I couldn't remember that. I'll have to ask him and let you know.
Yeah, I was in education.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, probably not then.
well, that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Totally unrelated to class.
Yep.
I am looking for a
Yeah.
pickup truck.
Oh, yeah.
Roughly in the late 60s, early 70s.
Mhm.
Um, doesn't even have to run. I got a buddy who's a mechanic. But if you
Gotcha.
run across one of those, what I'm looking for is
Mm.
a vehicle that would be EMP proof,
Oh, I see.
no computers.
Yeah.
So if you run across one, let me know.
Sure. 100%.
It's cool. All right. Well, let's get into a little bit about what we're doing here.
Yep.
Let me share my screen. Okay, in a second, you should see my screen.
Yep.
Okay. I'm in learning materials in our course. This is if you need to review, want to watch a recording, this is the way they tell me you're supposed to be able to do it.
Gotcha.
This is the instructions for all the assignments. Um, Hello World is due this week. It's pretty
Yep.
straightforward. Um, that should be, and again, this I'm an old fart, right? But every programming class should start with Hello World because
Yeah, my
it
last one
kind
did
of,
too.
oh, good,
Yep.
good. Did he tell you why?
No.
Okay. The premier operating system, the best operating system in the known universe is Unix. I am a Unix bigot. I've written a textbook on Unix. I run on a Mac because it's Unix. And back when Unix was first being developed by Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie, Ken opened the funny paper over breakfast, and there was a cartoon of an egg, and then the egg cracked, and then a little chick popped its head out of the egg and said, "Hello, world." And Ken thought that was really funny. And so the
Yeah.
first thing that Unix ever put on a terminal was "Hello, world."
Wow. I didn't know
So
that.
yeah, it's kind of cool. Unix is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why we start with "Hello, world," partly because it's pretty easy, and partly because it pays homage to Ken Thompson and Dennis Ritchie.
Yep.
When I was writing my book, I emailed and talked to both of them. Dennis is gone now, but man, those guys were incredible.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's the instructions for all the programs. It's pretty detailed. If you have questions, let me know. But Hello World is due this week. It's pretty straightforward. I give you the code, you copy the code into and you're in good place because you've already got an ASCII editor and a
Yeah.
compiler. Well, that's good, but that's how I make sure that you've got that.
Mm.
And then you add the flower box, which we'll get to in a minute, um, and turn it in. It's basically a check on that you've got a working compiler and that you've got a working ASCII editor.
Yep.
So that's Hello World. That's due this week. The programming protocols is a work in progress. I'm on the 53rd version of it.
Wow.
um, it's based on my time in industry, my lots of 3 o'clock in the morning problems, which you don't want to have.
Yeah.
Um, it's pretty much it's a company standard in several companies in Irving
Hmm.
and that area of the country because it's long and there is a quiz on protocols that's due by Sunday, and I need you to read through it because that
Yeah.
is my grading rubric. Okay,
Gotcha.
there's a bunch of rules, and they're rules that you're not going to like coming from C++. plus plus.
Yeah.
Um, so like single character variable names are only allowed if they're declared inside a for loop.
Hmm.
Um, Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Um, this is the Hello World program that you're going to copy. This is just how to read a file. This is how the ternary operator works. This is a way to deal with user input. One of the assignments, you're going to use this AI prompt to have the AI of your choice write a program, and then you're going to edit it and fix it and make it right and make it work.
Gotcha.
Do you use AI at all?
Um, yeah, I do. I
Good. What do you
think
use?
Claude.
Oh, excellent. Claude is
Yeah.
my favorite.
Yeah. I feel like at this point we're going towards there, so you're gonna have to learn how to use it. And yeah.
Yeah, that's why I include an assignment that makes you
Yeah,
use it.
exactly.
What's really interesting is I'm doing a lot of research on AI right now.
Nice, yeah.
Um, and what's happening in industry is very, very interesting because many companies jumped on the AI bandwagon, laid
Yes.
off a bunch of programmers, and
Mm-hmm.
started using AI.
Yep.
And then they found out that it is a deep, dark, serious black hole, and they're desperately hiring programmers back to fix the code. So, it's I don't think it's going to be as nearly as devastating to most industries, especially programming,
Gotcha.
because an AI, even Claude, and I really like
Yeah.
Claude. I mean, I've been using Claude since Claude started.
Yeah.
And I've got to pay, I pay for Claude.
Yeah.
And even Claude writes very inefficient code most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, so you're going to use that prompt, give it to Claude. Claude will write you a program, and then you make it work.
Yeah.
The clear screen function is one of the few functions that I will encourage you to use if you want to clear the screen. It is a preprocessor function. Do you know what that
Mhm.
means?
Uh, a little bit, not much.
Okay. There's preprocessor commands. They start with an octothorpe, which is the correct name for the pound sign, sharp sign,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
hashtag.
Yeah.
Okay. Like include. Okay. That's
Yeah.
a preprocessor
Right.
command. The clear screen function runs as a preprocessor command, so it incurs no overhead.
Mhm.
And so all it does is it looks at what operating system you've got,
Yeah.
and based on that operating system, puts in a system call. So if you're on a Windows machine, it's system CLS. If you're on anything else like a Unix machine, it's system clear. And
Yeah.
it will just plug that in to your code for you. And it will let your program run and clear the screen on either operating system.
Got it.
So that's fun. Touch any key is a lot of fun. We'll get into that in class. It's pretty,
Yeah.
yeah. Did your class talk about two's complement?
Let me see. No, we didn't.
Okay. I'm going to tell you something that you must never share with anyone who isn't a computer person.
Yeah.
Okay. It may cause their brain to explode and bleed out the ears. All a computer can do is add. The early
Wow. Okay.
computers were called adders.
Mhm.
So, how do you subtract if all you can do is add?
Yeah, you're right.
How do you do it? You
Um,
know,
I'm sorry.
you know how to do it.
Yeah, we just write subtract, right?
Well, okay, and what's that really doing?
Uh,
It's adding a negative number.
right.
And that's what two's complement does. You two's complement, when you do a subtraction or you do any comparison, the computer takes one of the values, converts it to two's complement, and adds it to the other value.
Yeah.
And you're going to get either a positive result, a negative result, or zero. Okay.
Got it.
So but that's real important because that's overhead. And again, I'm pushing really hard, and we'll get into that when we get into the three E's, but that's part of the protocols document. I am going to encourage you, push you to write all of your programs in a way that is efficient, elegant, and exact.
Yep.
Okay, we'll get into that later. There's a little sample program that does two's complement for you. Um, there we Did you get into hex at all in C++?
No. Oh, hex.
Yeah, base 16.
Yeah, we were using.
So
Hello.
yeah. So you
Yeah.
used hex. Good.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
good. Because hex is the truth. Okay.
Yeah.
And hex is really just an easier way to read binary. So you take a byte, divide it in half, and each half is one hex digit.
Yep.
So we're going to do a lot of debugging by dumping variables in hex. And that leads us to the next thing. If you don't have an ASCII conversion table sitting next to your keyboard when you're writing code or looking at code,
Yep.
download that one and print it.
Okay. Nice. Yep.
Okay. We're going to refer to that all the time.
Yep.
Okay. At one point, you're going to do a binary search. And this is the notes on that. This is a really good example of how not to use GoTo.
Mhm.
That back in the day, we didn't, all we had was GoTo statements to transfer
Wow.
control.
Wow.
And then what you do is, and in Fortran, which is my mother tongue,
Mhm.
you didn't go to a label or a tag, you went to a line number.
Wow.
So you transferred
The whole
control to a
line.
line number. Yeah. So anytime you changed the program, adding or deleting lines, you had to change all your go-tos.
Yeah, go-to. Wow.
Oh, it was horrible. And a lot of people wrote programs that had a lot of go-tos. It was called spaghetti coding because
Mhm.
if you drew a line from the go-to to the line it went to, for each go-to, it looked like a plate of spaghetti.
Yeah.
And there were numerous books written on go-to-less programming.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was interesting. Um, little example how to use a matrix, a couple of files to sort. Um, this is a program that you're going to, almost at the end of the semester, you're going to write an assigned groups
Mhm.
program where you generate random numbers for students and then assign them to groups of 3 when
Got it.
possible. That's the file you use as a basis. That's the file you edit.
Mhm.
This is hidden down at the bottom of the page. I just do love Brightspace, not. Um, so don't forget to click on load more.
Yep.
This is a bunch of common comments I make grading, things you don't want to do.
Yep.
Here's the final exam files. Okay.
Got it.
And the final exam, the way this course is structured, pretty much every program builds on the previous program.
I see.
Okay. So hello world, make sure you've got a working compiler and a working ASCII editor. I assume at that point that's done.
Yeah.
The next program is file IO. So you're going to read a file and write a file.
Yep.
That means that tells me you can now do file handling. Okay. So every program builds. And from there on, after file IO, I can just say, read this file and do this with it. And so step by step, we work our way through all the different tools, looping, selection, et cetera, et cetera. We
Yep.
get down to where you're doing the binary search. You're doing a sort, both of numbers and strings. You'll do a parsing program where you pick out words from a block of text.
Mhm.
And then the final is putting it all together.
Nice.
So you will have the code, the skill set to do everything in the final before we get there.
Got it.
Okay. And so the final is kind of a big, beautiful program. And I came up with that before Trump did. Beautiful. That let's actually, many of my students have used that as one of their exemplars when they go out and say, this is how I write code.
Yeah.
So that's our semester. I want to get back to the programming protocols. This is a big deal,
Mhm.
and it's a big file. So I'm going to open that. And we're just going to high scan this, but I want you to read this because there is a test, 100-point test due by Sunday on
Got it.
programming protocols. You're perfectly, I would be if you want to print it, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's also called defensive programming, just like defensive driving.
Yeah.
So this guy, okay, notice it's 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
That's not the person you want to be. I have been there way too many times. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. The program's got to go into production at 8. You've got 5 hours and you've been up for 2 days. And that's what you look like. Okay. So this poor dude is who you're writing your programs for.
Yep.
Okay. Because you want to make it so that poor guy can make your program work. Because in production, out there in the real world, you don't stay with a program most of the time. You write it, you get
Yeah.
it to work, and then you pass it on to maintenance.
Yep.
That's your maintenance program. You don't want to hate you. Okay.
Yep.
So this is the table of contents. And yes, it's long. And yes, there's like, what is it now? 40 pages.
Mhm.
So the preface, you can read it. This pretty much applies to every programming language as
Mhm.
far as the rules. So
So will the quiz be on the whole document or?
yes,
Okay.
yes. And it's all true false questions.
Got it.
Now this is Jordan, and Jordan was one of the fathers of programming architecture. Okay.
Got it.
And he wrote a book back in, I think it was either 72 or 75,
Mhm.
on the art of programming, and it's still a standard. Okay. This is how he defines a good program. It works. It works
Yep.
according to the specifications. It's flexible. It's ready on time. It has no bugs. But the inevitable bugs can be fixed quickly. It's well documented, executes quickly, and uses memory efficiently. Okay.
Yep.
That's our goal. And we talk about, I talked about the 3 a.m. problem, the elegant, efficient, and exact. And I go into explicit details on what elegant means. Okay. It's
Yep.
easy to read and straightforward to understand. When I go out to industry and talk to programming team leads, the first thing they tell me, if they don't know me, is whatever you do, make your kids write programs that are readable and fixable.
Mhm.
Back in the 80s, there was a mindset that kind of made its way around in the programming community called job security through code obscurity. In other words, if you made your program so weird and ununderstandable that you were the only one that could keep it running,
Yeah.
and it was a production program, they could never fire you.
Yeah.
Okay. When I went to work for Ross, he sat us all down and he said, okay, just so you know, any program you write has got to be understood by a minimum of 2 other people.
Mhm.
If you have a program that nobody else understands, I will have to fire you immediately, because if you get hit by a bus and that's a production program, we're screwed.
Yeah.
Oh, it was the opposite of that. So anyway, elegant means you can read it and it makes sense. Spacing, indentation, variable names, all that stuff. Okay. And it gets, I've got lots of rules that talk directly to that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Talk about flower boxes, and I'll show you that in a minute. Um, breaking the code up a little bit, or just like this, okay? People code this way all the time. That's just not pretty when your eyeballs have been up for 72 hours and it's 3 o'clock
Yeah.
in the morning. Just throw in space, one space.
Yep.
See the difference?
Yes.
Okay. Efficient pretty well it defines itself. Minimum CPU cycles and minimum memory usage. Okay. And people, students say, this is ridiculous, Doc. Come on. I mean, I've got, all this memory on my computer. Why do I care that I'm using a short int instead of an integer, saving 2 bytes per variable? Well, 2 bytes is important. So, yeah. So that's where the efficient comes in. And wasted CPU cycles. If you have your own function that you write,
Yeah.
it's compiled with your program, what happens? Well, first of all, let's back up to the operating system. Did your C++ class get into what happens when the operating system gives control to your program?
No.
Okay. You're the operating system. You're going to give control to this program. The first thing the program has to do is capture the state of the operating system.
Okay.
Okay. Then it begins executing. And when it finishes, it returns the operating system to the state it was in when the program took control.
Mhm.
That's at least 33 machine instructions.
Wow.
up to 70 machine instructions, depending on the CPU you're on. Okay. The
Mm-hmm.
same thing happens when you call a function that you wrote. Okay.
Okay.
The function has to capture the state of the program, execute the function, and return the program to the state it was in before the function was called. Lots of CPU cycles.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially if the function's only called once.
Yeah.
So we don't do a whole lot of functions here.
Mm-hmm.
It's a predilection of new programmers that, I can write all these cool functions. And then, my main program is just call function, call function, call function, call function, done.
Yeah.
And that's cute. But not only is that a waste in CPU cycles, but you've got to, as a programmer at 3 o'clock in the morning, you've got to stop following the main code logic and then go look at the function logic and then go back to the main program. And
Yeah.
you've lost your train of thought. Okay. So now that does not apply to functions in libraries. Okay. And that's a
Yep.
huge difference. So you use things like stdio and that kind of stuff. Those
Yep.
includes. What happens there is, again, preprocessor commands. The compiler looks at the library, which is already compiled code,
Mm-hmm.
and just plugs that code in. No transfer of control. So no wasted CPU cycles. And it's beyond the scope of this class, but when I go out and program, I've got 3 libraries I take with me. That's my own code.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
One of them is that clear screen function. So, okay, so that's efficient. And exact. One of the I don't know what polite word to use. One of the things that new programmers do is, well, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, but I can make it do this and this and this too. No, don't do that.
Yep.
Your customer won't like it. I won't like it. So do what it's supposed to do, what the specifications say. Make sure it does all that. And then that's it. Don't add stuff. And then there's multiple reasons. One is if you're working for somebody like I was for ADS,
Yep.
and the customer, you add things the customer didn't ask for, well, they may ask for them later and you can charge them for it. But if you just throw them in gratis, So. Another thing that I strongly urge you to do is think through the logic of the program and write the logic down on paper. Okay.
Okay.
And then you get an idea of the flow. And then write the code for one piece of that logic. Make it work. And then write the next piece of code. Don't ever, well, after Hello World, don't ever say, okay, I'm going to write this program. Because you will have so much area in which there can be bugs.
Mm-hmm.
It will significantly slow down your development. But if you write it piecemeal, one logical structure at a time,
Yeah.
then you know that if there's errors, it's in that last piece, probably in that last piece that you wrote.
Yeah.
Okay. File naming conventions. This is a big deal. And when I was at E-Systems, again, we were in a highly secured environment,
Yeah.
but E-Systems had what they called a printer pool, and you directed your printout to a specific printer with a 3-digit prefix on the file name.
Mm-hmm.
We had to always send our code to 371 because that was a secure printer.
Got it.
Guy I worked with, it was a 3 o'clock in the morning thing. He forgot to put the 3-character designation on it. The program printed on the company president, E-Systems president's secretary's
Oh
printer,
no.
which is about as unsecured as you can get.
Yeah.
He got fired and went to Leavenworth prison.
Wow.
So yeah, okay. I want you to put any file that you send me starts with your initials. So it
Got
would
it.
be A, and then the program name. Okay.
Yep.
There's two reasons to do that. If I get, 20 copies of Hello World, it's
Yeah.
going to be Hello World sub one, Hello World sub two. And then if you get a hold of me and say, hey, I don't understand what you meant by this comment,
Yeah.
I gotta, but if it's a Hello World, then it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I can find it. We can talk about it. Okay.
Got it.
So yeah. And this gets into that. Don't put spaces in file names, please.
Yes.
Unix uses space on the command line as a delimiter. So if you send me a hello space world.c, it's going to come back. My compiler's going to come back and say, no such file a hello.
Right.
Okay. So don't put space. That's a stupid Windows thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Ew. And it's sloppy. Um, Make sure that you send me, in this case, a C program. I don't know what ID, do you use an IDE?
No.
Oh, cool. You just write it in an ASCII editor?
Wait, no, sorry. I use VS Code.
Okay. Don't send me a VS Code file.
Got it. Okay.
Send me the code.
Yep.
Because I use the Mac tool. So yeah. Don't send me zip files. Don't send me your test files. I have my own. Um, and in assignments where you're going to read a file,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the name of the file should be. You'll create your own test file of that name, and then your program will open that file. Now, real important and you've probably already got, run into this in C++, but if you keep all of your programs and their data files in the same directory folder,
Yeah.
then you don't have to have a path to your data.
Mhm.
And that makes life really easy. So I strongly encourage you to create one directory or
Yeah.
folder, which is the same thing, for, COSC 1420, and then write all your programs there, build all your data files there. And that way you don't have to worry about paths. Because if you
Yes.
use a path, I just have to delete it before I run your program because everything's in my directory. Everything
Yeah.
that I need is in my directory. So, okay.
Yep.
All right. Variable names is a big deal. Um, a lot of AIs and a lot of programmers use single character variable names. Variable names need to be meaningful. Okay. The
Mhm.
only time that you can use a single character variable name if it is declared within a for loop, a for command.
Mhm.
Okay. Because it only lives for that length of time. It only lives in the for loop. And we'll get into that when we get into for loops. But
Yeah.
yeah, single character variable names are horrible. And you may have noticed that a lot of IDEs and AIs use I, J, K, L, M, and N for loop counters. And the reason for that is back in the early Fortran days, we did not have a way to declare variables.
Mhm.
Okay. If the variable name started with the letters I through N, it was an integer. If it started with any other letter, it was a floating point number. So,
Mhm.
and we were working, the CDC 6500 that I started programming on had 4K of memory.
Wow.
Period. So a long variable name just ate up more bytes.
Yeah.
Okay. So a lot of single character variable names, that was horrible, but it was necessary at the time. On the other hand, don't write, like 20 character variable names. Okay.
Yeah.
Readability is important. Um, did you C++ class get into what a variable is?
A little bit. Yeah.
What's a variable?
Uh, as in variable. Yep. What, like kind of like RAM, right? Or
Not
like
kind
a,
of like
that's,
RAM.
it is
Absolutely.
RAM, like a storage kind of place for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a name for an address in memory.
Yeah.
And that's really, really important.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I don't care how you build your variable names, camel case, snake case, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, try to group your variables by type, and all the variables, except those in for commands, need to be declared at the beginning of the program. Don't ever declare a variable in the body of the code because and again, normal production, we're talking 3 to 5,000 lines of code.
Yeah.
So if somewhere down in there you declare a variable and then something goes wrong with it, I have to scroll through all that code
Yeah.
to try to figure out what that variable was and why. I mean, for example, if it's a short integer and you exceed the length of a short integer, you'll get an error. Okay. Well, I got to find it to see what it was. And yeah, no. So all the variables are declared at the beginning. Um, you don't have to use complete words. That's cool. And we're going to talk about the scope more, but this gets into, like I said before, you declare a short integer J. It only exists within those curly braces.
Mhm.
Okay. So I don't need to worry about it. Global variables, yeah, that's interesting. And there's problems with using global variables um, because they can be, and again, in production, you're going to write a program that becomes part of a system. Okay. And
Mhm.
all the programs are going to be compiled together into the system. And if you have a global variable declared and then somebody else redeclares that global variable, it'll change. And man, that's a real bugger to figure out what's wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't use global variables. In other words, the define command.
Yeah.
Constants, they're just another kind of variable, but they won't be changed in the execution of the program. Those are really nice. We talked about preprocessor commands. If you're on a Windows machine, you want to add that. Okay.
Yep.
In Visual Studio. Um, that just makes sure that you see all the warning errors.
Mhm.
Um, and then again, you can read this. And there's an example. Documentation is important. Documentation is absolutely critical. And one of the absolute rules is you never lie in your documentation.
Yep.
That is one of the unforgivable sins. Because if I'm 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to figure out what your program does, and I use your documentation and you tell me something that I know isn't true, I can no longer trust any of your documentation. And
Yeah.
it becomes a hindrance instead of a help. Um, you're going to build a flower box at the beginning of every program or function, and I'll get into exactly the layout of that in a minute. Inline documentation starts with the double forward slash
Right.
or backward slash, however you want to call that one. Okay.
Yeah.
From that point on, the rest of the line is a comment. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, when you're writing inline comments, push them off to the right. Don't leave them on the left margin so that they get embedded with the code.
Okay.
Okay. Push them off to the right. That makes it a little easier. Okay.
Yeah.
Flower box. So this is what a flower box needs to contain, a main flower box. Okay. And here's an example with an explanation. Okay.
Yeah.
The first thing, it's use the asterisk. It comes from COBOL, and you
Yeah.
can read that. That's okay. But that catches my eye. The reason for a flower box, one reason for a flower box is I'm in production. I know that there's a program out there in the code library that does pretty much what I want to do, but I don't know the name of the program. So I pull up these programs that have names that I think might be what I want.
Yeah.
And if the purpose of the program is right there, the first thing I see, that makes it easy. I don't have to read the code or anything else. So every flower box starts with a purpose, then the name of the program, then how you invoke it. In other words, how do you run it? Okay. On a Unix machine, it's ./a.out because the compiler creates by default a file named a.out, which is the executable. On a Windows machine, it'll be something exe. Okay. So
Yep.
that after the name, that how do I get it to run? Then the variables, and you list your variables and what they're used for. Okay.
Mhm.
Then functions, if you use any. Okay. Normally this should be none. Um, you don't need to list functions that are included in the standard libraries like stdio or
Right.
stdbool or whatever. Okay. Everybody knows what those are.
Yeah.
This is for where you have your own unique functions. This is where you would list, if you're using my clear screen function, that's
Yeah.
where you'd list them. Okay.
Yeah.
Who wrote it, when it was written, modifications, whether whether it's either none or it's something like this. Okay.
Mhm.
Where you say what you did and the date you did it and your initials or your identifier. Okay. This is where special notes is where you put particular conditions, like the source, the data file must be in the same directory as the program, stuff like that. Constraints. Okay. Most of the time it's none. And here's your program. Then internal flower boxes. I encourage this, but don't require it. This is a little flower box that you would put before each major logical step in the program.
Mhm.
Okay. So you're going to read the file, you're going to sort the file, you're going to print the file. Okay. You
Yep.
just put a little box that says, this is where I'm going to read the file, because that's how you're going to write the code. You're going to write the code to read the file, make that work. Okay. And then you're going to
Mhm.
write the code to sort the file and make that work. And then you're going to write the code to print the file and make that work, or write the file to another to disk.
Yeah.
So this isn't required, but it's really nice at 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, okay, and it can be just a little guy like this. Inline documentation, again, push it off to the right. Um, curly braces. This is a big deal. Um, curly braces will be on their own lines and vertically aligned.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if you're C++.
Yeah, we did that. All had to be aligned.
Good,
Yeah.
good. Why is that important?
Just for visuals, right? So you can know what's going on.
Expand on that.
Yeah, if they're in the wrong place when you come back to it, you won't really know where the curly braces are.
Yeah. And we live with all the modern, high-tech, fast, cool little computers we've got, we
Yeah.
have one huge disadvantage. And that disadvantage is we can only see 30 to 40 lines of code at a time.
Yeah.
In the old days, we'd get a listing, a hard copy printed of the whole program, and you could lay it out on a table and trace
Yeah.
the logic. Can't do that anymore. So what we do, the reason for the alignment is if you've got blocks of code that will always be enclosed in curly braces will be on their own lines. So I can put my cursor on this curly brace and
Yep.
then scroll up and find the open.
Yep.
Okay. If that's what your other instructor did, good for them. It's nice, especially in long blocks of code, to explain which curly brace, what it's ending. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, defensive coding. This is what we do, but this is the problems we have. Okay.
Yeah.
I encourage the use of debug print. Did your instructor do that?
No.
Okay, this is because in the old days, if a program crashed, we'd get what's called a core dump,
Okay.
which is literally the state of the operating system, the state of the program when it died. Now it
Mhm.
was all in hex, okay, or octal, but you could go in and look at what different variables, the values, and see why the program died. We
Mhm.
don't have that anymore. So when you start running into problems, you do what I call a debug print statement. So you dump variables. This variable has this value. This variable has this value. So you can see where things went sideways. Okay. Another thing that I do regularly is I'll put debug print statements in after every step. Just, finish reading the file, finish sorting the file, finish printing the file. Just because that way I know, at least it gives me a window into where it went sideways.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 3 ways to do debug print. You put the print statements in, and then when the program is ready to go to production, you pull them out. That's absolutely the worst way to do it. Why?
I don't know.
Because when your program goes to maintenance, they're going to change it, and they're going to have to put those debug print statements back in.
Gotcha.
Okay. Second way to do it is to comment them out. So you put a double slash in front of them.
Right.
That's better than 1. Okay. But again, either inevitably, from a voice of experience here, inevitably you'll either forget to comment out some of them and the user will see them, or you'll forget to uncomment them and then you won't see them. Okay. So that's better than 1, but not good. Best way to do it is you build a debug print block. And you have a Boolean variable called debug, and you set it to true. And then if debug, you print the debug print statements. And my LibreOffice didn't line these up right, but okay. When you go into production, all you do is turn that off, make it false. None of the debugs show up. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, I have to make 1 change and I can see all the debug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
That's the way to do it. All right. And that's what I want you to use. I encourage you to do this. Okay. So yeah. There's 2 kinds of bugs. You know this, right? There's syntax errors, which the compiler usually tells you. And those are pretty easy. Okay.
Yep.
One thing that students tend to do is they ignore warnings. Did your instructor tell you about the difference between warnings and errors?
Well, it was in VS Code. You could see the difference between them, but we never really talked about it.
Warnings should be considered as serious as errors.
Yeah.
Okay. Because warnings are the compiler telling you, for example, if this variable gets bigger than some value, it's going to cause a problem.
Yeah.
So my rule is when I compile your program, no errors, no warnings.
Yep.
You may have to turn on warnings. Now, you said your VS Code shows it anyway. Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. Some like code blocks that people use, you've got to go in and set a switch that says, show me warnings.
I see you.
Okay. Now IDEs, and I think VS Code does this. They try to help you.
Yes.
By hiding the warnings, and they will assume things like, main is a function.
Yes.
Functions have types. It's an integer function. Well, IDEs know that main is an integer function, so they'll just kind of let that go.
Yeah.
My compiler won't do that. Okay. So yeah. And again, you can read this.
Yeah.
Logic errors are just horrible. They're the ones that keep you up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. There's no magic to that. Debug printing is very, very useful. So for example, the if with the double equals is a test for equality. The if with a single equals is assignment. That will always be true.
Yeah.
Index will always equal 10. That's true. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, that single equal sign, especially if there's no spaces around it, is really easy to overlook. I've done that more than once. this document, the primary purpose of this document is to save you from 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay.
Yep.
And you're getting a lot of, this is what I did and it didn't work. Okay.
Yep.
This is a big one. So I've got some array, okay, that
Yep.
has, and I read in a set of words from a file and I count them. I start counting at 1, but C starts counting at 0.
Mhm.
And when we get into
Yes.
arrays, I'll explain to you why it does that.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm counting my count number is max. I count 10. Okay.
Yep.
So this is good, less than max, which means what?
Gonna be like starting from 0 to the max.
Less than max. Let's say max is 10.
Okay. So
So what
anything less than the
index
max,
going to
less
do?
than 10.
Yeah, 0 through 9.
Yep.
Which corresponds to the index values because there's 0 through 9 are the words. Okay.
Yep.
This is correct. But a lot of programmers write this too many times. What does that do?
It's gonna be greater than equal to max. So it's gonna include 10, right?
Yeah. So it's going to go one step beyond the bounds of the array.
Yep.
And that very often creates this beautiful little thing called a seg fault, a segmentation fault.
Yep.
Oh, that's not good. So yeah, you got to be careful about that. And by the way, when this executes, what happens?
In where?
In the computer. How does it execute that particular line of code? What does it actually do in the computer? We talked about this earlier, but this is where it comes back and becomes important.
Oh, okay.
What's the only thing a computer can do?
Add.
Okay. So how does it determine whether index is less than max?
Oh, I see. With the negative.
The 2's complement, right?
Yeah.
It converts max to 2's complement, adds it to index, and looks at what it gets back. Does it get back positive, negative, or 0?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's 2's complement. That's
Yeah.
why that's so important. Testing, and there are just thousands of books out there on how to test. Okay. One thing that's absolutely important is you never trust your user. You always make sure. I mean, so you're gonna in the looping program, you're gonna take one value from the user, and you're gonna
Yep.
use that value to iterate 4 different loops. Okay.
Gotcha.
So if you say to the user, give me a value between 1 and 10, okay,
Yep.
then you make sure that the value is greater than 0 and less than 10 or less than 11.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if you don't do that validation and the user types in 99,999, that program's going to run for a long time.
Yeah.
And if the user puts in a negative value or 0, then the loops won't execute.
Right.
So you
Hey,
never trust
sorry,
the user.
Sorry, I have to go in a little bit. Am I able to leave? Sorry.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay. I won't mess up the recording or anything, right?
Oh no.
Okay.
So you
Gotcha.
can just
Yeah.
just read the rest of this. And
Yeah.
like I said, there's a lot.
Sure.
There's particular rules with examples.
Got it.
There's at the end. There's a checklist.
Got it.
Okay, this is how a professional programmer writes code.
Yep.
And then here's the checklist. Okay. So yeah. All right.
All right.
So
Sounds good.
that's
Yep.
the programming protocols.
Yep.
And you have another class. So have a blessed day, and I will see you on Wednesday. And thank you for showing up.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It was super fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. I will see you on Wednesday.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Okay, well, my one student left, so I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to stop the recording, and hopefully see y'all on Wednesday. Do read that programming protocols document carefully, because there's a quiz, a 25 question true or false quiz that was due on Sunday that covers that document. You also need to take quiz 0, which is very, very difficult, hugely difficult. Oh, so hard. And the only reason that quiz 0 exists is so that I can validate that you're a human being. It's a 5-question quiz. And the only thing you need to remember is squirrels don't know anything about programming. And that will make sense when you take the quiz. So if you're watching the video, have a blessed day, and hopefully I'll see you on Wednesday. And I'm going to stop the recording, and it'll be out there for you to view. Get a tub of popcorn. Bye, y'all.